Well, it's getting late and there's no word on a CBA just yet. So instead of just refreshing Twitter over and over again, I'm going to answer some listener questions. And notice I didn't say questions from listeners. I'm going to answer a bunch of questions from the exact same listener. This is Locked On MLB.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the podcast we talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please, as you see right there in my lower third, please call me Sully. Thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen, as we're available on all your free podcasting catchers. Catch us also here on YouTube if you're watching me, as I'm here recording in the luxurious Locked On MLB studios in Pasadena, California, overlooking the historic Rose Bowl. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On MLB Pods. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Recording this kind of late on Tuesday, the 3rd day of March, 2022. And I was hoping this was going to be the balloons coming down from the ceiling, confetti firing in the air. We were going to have a song, dance. We were going to have all sorts of celebration, that we were going to have a collective bargaining agreement. And as of right now, it's 8:22 in the PM here in Pasadena, California. And as of right now, we don't have it. Maybe when I wake up in the morning, because I am going to bed pretty soon, there will be an agreement. I don't know. I don't know the answer, and neither do you. I haven't. There's no way I could make it any clearer that I have been in the favor of the players in most of the arguments going on. I don't trust the owners. And Rob Manfred tells things during his press conference that are factually untrue. And when someone says something that is factually untrue, and they know it's factually untrue, and they say it as if it is the truth, some people would call that a lie. I'm just going to say that there. That's how some people define the word lie. But with all that being said, at this point, right in the here and now, I just want some baseball. That's all. All my philosophical stances in the world are set, and yet I want what I like to call the baseball. And the fact of the matter is, I'll take anything at this point. Now, if I were the Players Association, I would have folded. I'm not the Players Association. And you should be thankful for that, players, that I'm not. Because at this point, just give us some games. Just start playing them. Just get out there and play. I mean, the players have made a ton of concessions at this point. You would think that the owners would treat it like an absolute, complete victory. The fact that they haven't is, as we would call it in the industry, bananas. It's making my dog bark right now. That's right. That's Ellie, the official dog of the Locked On Podcast Network. And she heard me mentioning the players being locked out and everything. Of course, again, the players can come back in tomorrow. They can lift the lockout right now. I want you to take one thing into account. There is a possibility that if this goes on, imagine people just casually saying things like, excuse me, that we're going to have, it'll go into April, it'll go into May. What happens in the middle of April, right around the time Passover is starting, and also right around the time your taxes are due? What thing goes on right around then? I think you may know. It's Jackie Robinson Day on the 15th of April. We celebrate the legacy of Jackie Robinson. What is significant about Jackie Robinson Day 2022. It is the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier. And this would be the 75th annual celebration. When there was the 50th celebration, that's when they retired number uh, number 42 throughout baseball. There's another thing to remember. Rachel Robinson was there for the 50th anniversary. Rachel Robinson's still with us. The widow of Jackie Robinson is still with us. Okay? And she is going to turn, say it with me, folks, 100 years old on July 19th. Now, obviously, when someone is approaching triple digits, you got to think we're in overtime right now. Nobody wants Rachel Robinson to die. But when you approach 100, any minute the whistle could blow. And so there is a very real possibility this could be the last time ever that we get to have a celebration of Jackie Robinson with the woman who he shared his life with. And she's, I've read Jackie Robinson's autobiography. I've read several biographies about him. She was a rock, stable rock during all aspects of Jackie's life. Not just when he broke the color barrier, but when he showed his strength and bravery throughout his playing days and throughout his post-playing days. He was a fighter, and he always had Rachel fighting with him. We could miss that over arguments about, well, how much money should we put in the fund? Maybe, well, that's not fun. Well, should we have a draft lottery? And we're going to miss Jackie Robinson Day, the 75th, on the 100th year of Rachel Robinson being with us. I'm not saying that should be the prime motivator to come up with a collective bargaining agreement, but I will say it would be an extraordinary sea of crappiness if we have to postpone the day, change it around, and everything like that. Because, and say it with me, folks, the owners and Rob Manfred imposed a lockout. Not on the players. Players didn't walk. Players didn't strike. Okay? None of that happened. And we're here looking at what could be, well, just truly a great celebration. In a time where we need to start celebrating people like Jackie Robinson. In a time when we got to start pointing to the things that have been good about baseball. This is sort of critical. I said this before, baseball can serve a purpose of being a uniter, as being a common thread for very different people. And what Jackie Robinson did, opening a lot of people's eyes and opening a lot of doors along the way and continuing to fight to open doors right up until his last public appearance, which was at the 1972 World Series. Just a week before his death, he gave a speech at Riverfront Stadium in the game between Cincinnati and Oakland in that World Series Game 2. And the last thing he said was making a plea to have more blacks in management and in the coaching staff of baseball and managing. Fighting to the end. We're going to miss the 75th, the Diamond Jubilee, and the potential 100th birthday of Rachel Robinson over a completely artificial lockout and a collective bargaining struggle which has been petulant and full of lies. Good job, baseball. really good job. It is a surefire bet that if that happens, the bad will that will be flung in baseball's face for this needless interruption would be staggering. And if you're going to make any bets, go to Bet Online. It remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. From the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, Bet Online is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. And not just for basketball, betonline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, UFC odds, maybe someday baseball, right down to they covered the Olympics and more sports than you can shake a hockey stick at. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet Online, it's where the game starts. And you know what? We better start seeing some baseball. Can you work on that, Bet Online? By the way, thanks again so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen every day. Locked On MLB Prospects host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep for the Stars tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. That should be your second listen. It's been a while since I've done a viewer questions show, and I was combining, I was combining the comments I get on YouTube and on Twitter and on Instagram, MySpace, Friendster, comments that are written on a paper airplane and thrown into my moving car. I get all sorts of questions along the way, but I keep seeing the friend of the podcast, Jeff Cohen, throws me some of the most interesting questions. And so I am doing an all Jeff Cohen answering his questions here. So, Jeff, I know you're listening to the show. I'm going to answer a whole bunch of your questions today. By the way, I'm going to start with the first one. He posted this one a few days ago, March 4th. He said, care to rank the Major League Baseball commissioners from worst to best? No, actually, I'm not going to rank the commissioners for a couple of reasons. It's difficult for me to know how to judge a good commissioner or a bad commissioner. The commissioner who, the first ever commissioner was Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who had the job for several decades. He's credited with, and again, how much of this is narratives that are spread out and how much of it is reality. He's credited with cleaning up the game and banning the members of the White Sox team that bet on the 1919 World Series when there was so much scrutiny going on in baseball about whether or not it was even on the up and up. But he also worked very hard to keep the game segregated. He was one of the biggest points to block the entrance of African-American players into the game. We just brought up Jackie Robinson. There was a movement, and seemed to be potentially some, I guess for the lack of a word, some resistance to the segregation in baseball in the late 1930s. It was starting to, chip away at, especially when you start seeing American sports heroes like Jesse Owens, like Joe Louis, really crossing over demographics. And some teams were kicking around the ideas of what would happen if we integrate the team. And you started seeing some star players speak highly of the Negro Leagues, and a couple of them advocated for the integration of the game, including Pie Traynor of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So it's tough for me to say that the longest running commissioners would be Kennesaw Mountain Landis and Bud Selig. Selig was a colluding owner who, some good things happen on his watch and some rotten things happen on his watch. Who am I going to say? There were so many commissioners who were involved in the collusion of baseball. Some always sort of stupidly signing with the owners at all times. People will bring up Bart Giamatti, but Bart Giamatti is a classic example of someone dying at the right time. Bart Giamatti looked like a man of integrity as the president of Yale, and he made the hard decision about Pete Rose, and then he dropped dead. And because he also waxed poetic and wrote beautiful prose about baseball, there is a tendency to romanticize Oh, if Bart Giamatti hadn't have died and hadn't gone to Fay Vincent to become the new commissioner when he did not seem to have the chops to be the role. If only Bart Giamatti hadn't died, we may have avoided the strike in 1994. But what are we basing that on? We're basing it on a romantic image we have of the man, that he was not Uberoff, who was colluding, but he was this man of integrity who stood the ground against Pete Rose and said no one is bigger than the game. Well, he was also kind of a union buster when he was the president of Yale. He may have been someone who absolutely clashed. When some people die at the right time, I know that sounds cruel, but some people die at the right time. And sometimes it's the best thing to ever happen to their reputation, because we create this sort of heightened reality for this person out of respect. Like, oh my God, they were just been so wonderful. They were so wonderful. There's some people who have a wonderful reputation and then just keep living and living and living. And suddenly that reputation starts to sour and sour and sour until the point where they almost become, some of the things that happen later in their life take over their entire reputation. I'm not going to say anyone's name, not even any former mayors of New York. But the fact of the matter is that Giamatti died, and because of that, he has this heightened reputation. And now we have Manfred. Have we had a good commissioner? I don't know. Maybe we have, but it just seems like the office itself has the role of just being the mouthpiece for the owners, and that's not always been a great thing. It's funny. I say I'm going to get some of Jeff Cohen's questions. The first one I do is a question that I won't answer. Let's get one he asked me back in January. In addition to a pitch clock, how about the pitcher is allowed to throw the ball if the batter is not in the batter's box and time has been called by the umpire? Absolutely. They kind of do that now anyway. But I think with the pitch clock coming down, I love the pitch clock. I love anything that gets them in the box and gets the pitcher throwing. And if the pitcher sees it's 5, 4, 3, and the guy he's doing the little shuffle outside of the batter's box, chuck it in there. Strike. Chuck that baby in there. And it goes the other way. If the pitcher keeps looking for the sign, call it a ball. Hey, you had 30 seconds. Come up with your pitch. I'm absolutely for that. Let's go to another question he asked me, though. Because this one I find a little more, this is multifaceted. He asked me this on the 23rd day of February. Jeff Cohen, at Jeff Cohen 41, he's a huge Mets fan. But he's asked me a Yankee question. Do the Yankees re-sign Aaron Judge to a long-term contract or let him test free agency with an eye towards signing Juan Soto in 2 years? Can you imagine Soto in Yankee Stadium? Yeah, I can. This is a really interesting philosophical question, and I'm going to go into another aspect of it. Now, Juan Soto was apparently offered like a $300 million contract to stay with the Nationals. It's unbelievable. As of this recording, he's 23 years old. He's already a 4-year veteran. Already has a World Series ring. Already has been a batting champion, an OPS champion, led the league. I mean, he's an absolute complete player and is inevitably going to win an MVP. He's already been a postseason hero for the Washington Nationals. And when he hits the free agent market, he is going to make all the money in the world. Meanwhile, Aaron Judge is in so many ways the face of the Yankees. And he is really one of since the great core that the Yankees put together in the 90s, he's the biggest star that the Yankees farm system has produced. Bigger than Robinson Cano, who for a while was the biggest star they had created. He's a legitimate MVP candidate when he's healthy. He's a legitimate threat to be a home run king when he's healthy. As of this recording, he's going to turn 30 in April. So he's considerably older, even though it seems like he just arrived and he was the rookie of the year in 2017. He was a 25-year-old rookie. He was in the farm system for a little bit. And Soto was a better player. I don't think anyone's going to fight me too hard on that. Soto is one of the most complete players in all of baseball. He's got the power, he's got speed, he's got the defense, he's got all the wonderful qualities, and he's younger, and he's also a left-handed power hitter. And in Yankee Stadium, we know what that would mean. Aaron Judge has the big old lumbering body. But he did get 633 plate appearances this year. When he plays a full season, he is an elite player. Now, there's two things I want to bring up. Yes, it is interesting with Judge, his free agency pending, and he's not already signed, even though he is the face of the team. That is a little strange. And of course, the Yankees in the past would have had Judge and signed Soto. Like, why choose? There is a certain aspect to Yankeedom where having the homegrown star as the centerpiece of the team seems to be important. Yankee fans, look at there's all the who's a true Yankee, who's a true Yankee. It's not based upon, or it shouldn't be based upon, whether or not they were a product of their farm system, because Babe Ruth was acquired from another team, Paul O'Neill was acquired from another team. How Willie Randolph, who was a captain of the Yankees for a while, was acquired from the Pirates. And you can come in and be a quote true Yankee unquote and be brought up through another team, but there's something about the homegrown Yankee that has such appeal to the fan base. And for a franchise that has a reputation of poaching other players, the players who the fan base tends to keep closer to their bosom are not the superstars who enter the team. Hell, Alex Rodriguez never got accepted by Yankee fans, and he won 2 MVPs for them and basically won them the 2009 World Series. But they'll always hold, whether it's a Jeter or a Rivera or a Mattingly or a Mercer or a Roy White or a Posada or a Pettit, closer to their bosom, or a Bernie Williams, one of the most underrated Yankees, in my humble opinion. But those homegrown ones, these are true Yankees. That comes down to the players who are from their system, who are not swiped from other teams, and can be the face of the team. And that seems to be Aaron Judge's role with this particular Yankee team that seems to be dancing around the cusp of huge things in the postseason, but have yet to get to a World Series. Now, Juan Soto would be that interloping player coming in from another organization. Now, look if Juan Soto was a Yankee, the sky would be the limit for that guy, and fans would, or should at least love him. But there is a weird arrogance that you assume if you're a Yankee fan, and Jeff, I know you're not, you're a Met fan, that, well, when they hit free agency, they're going to head on over to the Yankees. Wasn't that what was going to happen with Bryce Harper? Wasn't that what was going to happen with Manny Machado? Hell, for some people, wasn't that what was going to happen with Mike Trout? I don't think the Washington Nationals are going to let Juan Soto go, because there's no way whatever they save their money on, they have been handed a MVP candidate, and if they sign him to a 5-6 year deal, they'll have his entire prime. And so if you say, okay, well, on a 10-year deal, that way you have your prime, and then you'll wind up, you'll be paying later for some of his, you'll be kind of retroactively paying. Like, he'll inevitably break down, but he'll break down in his early 30s. If you sign him to a 10-year deal, that takes you to age 33. So, for the Nationals, you're not going to get whatever he asks for. You're not going to get a better value from that. But also there's this notion of, well, he's obviously going to go to the Yankees. Why wouldn't he go to the Mets? Why wouldn't he go to Los Angeles? Why wouldn't he go to San Francisco? Why wouldn't he go to Boston? Why wouldn't he go to the Cubs? Why wouldn't he go to a team that you're not expecting that suddenly gets an influx of money and says, hey, why don't we sign him? Personally, I don't think he's going anywhere but Washington. But this notion of, well, the big name free agents are always going to wind up going to the Yankees, that's not really the case. A couple of years ago, you had two potential MVP candidates. They had bad attitudes. Shut up. What are you hanging out in the locker room with them? Who were out there as free agents. And one of them didn't even have draft pick compensation attached to his name with Manny Machado, who was playing a position that the Yankees to this day need to fill, which is the shortstop. But you also had Bryce Harper, former MVP, with a swing that seemed perfect for Yankee Stadium. And they were on the market well into spring training. And the Yankees never even seemed to kick the tires on either one of them. And we don't know, there's going to be a collective bargaining agreement. We don't know how it's going to turn out. And we also don't know if Soto wants to play in New York. But we know Aaron Judge does. I think Judge is going to be a valuable player for the next 3 or 4 years. And he is a valuable player for putting butts in the seats and giving Yankee fans that player that you can get attached to as your own. And that seems to be important to Yankee fans. But the notion that Juan Soto is automatically going to go to a free agent, if he goes to free agent, goes to New York, that's not been the case. Yeah, Garrett Cole was a big free agent signing, but a lot of times they're not getting the big free agents who are out there. Also, as you're seeing with signing people like Trout and some of the other huge stars out there, Tatis Jr., teams are realizing what I said before. You're not going to get better value than signing a legit superstar to a long-term deal. So you might as well do it. I don't see Juan Soto leaving Washington. And I also don't see, if he does go, that he's necessarily going to head on over to the Yankees. The Yankees need to do a lot of things with their team. And most importantly, they need health in their pitching staff, and they need better depth in their infield. And bringing in a big power hitting outfielder, granted, he's obviously would help the team. But there's no guarantee he's going to go out there. And the Yankees got to fix other parts of their team and pop the hood. Kind of like when you go to Rock Auto. With the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry? That's crazy. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even a new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find solution for your auto parts need. Go to rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. And hey, let's talk a little bit about Built Bar. This is the time of the year where a lot of people have given up on their New Year's resolutions, but not this guy. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right. And thanks to Built Bar, it feels like every day is a day to keep my resolution and still enjoy what I eat. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of the best Built Bar flavors ever. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with incredible flavors: yummy cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're so good, these are going to become your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. Go to Built.com. Scroll down to the macros chart. You'll be blown away. The high protein, low calorie, high fiber, and low carb Built Bar information. Most Built Bars have 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams of net carb, and 17 grams of protein. You got great flavors like my favorite, which is raspberry. You also have mint brownie, coconut almond. This month you got white chocolate cookies and cream. They're all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. If they think a flavor might be good, they'll make it. It'll be delicious, and it'll be good for you. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how, but they do it every time. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Let's see what else we have here that is being asked by my buddy Jeff Cohen. This is one. This is again pointing a little bit to free agency and assumptions. A lot of people are saying Freddie Freeman should never play for a team not named the Braves. But then again, the same people said that Albert Pujols shouldn't play for anyone but the Cardinals. Money is a determining factor. Yeah, it is. Money is the determining factor and always will be. And, it probably is for you too. Anyone listening there is probably going to go try to work at the place that will pay them the best. Now, where I'm working, I'm going to be done at the end of this school year and I'll be looking for other work. And guess what? If you get other work, I'm going to look to get the best paying work that I can, mainly because I'm very greedy. Atlanta Braves fans should know that if Freddie Freeman signs with someone else, and it sounded like the Rays were kicking the tires on him, he may go with someone else. And if he does, you're going to have to be okay with it for several reasons. And in some ways, it may even be best. Freddie Freeman has been a wonderful member of the Atlanta Braves organization. There's no getting around that. That's the absolute honest truth. He played when Bobby Cox was still the manager of the team. He was drafted by the Atlanta Braves back in 2007, made his debut in 2010, runner-up to the Rookie of the Year in 2011, been on several really frustrating Braves teams, including the 2011, 2012, and 2013 squad, was there when they rebuilt. He was a top 10 MVP finisher in 2013, 2016, 2018, 2019, 2021, and won the MVP of the National League in the truncated COVID season. And several times led the league in some major categories, Silver Slugger, Gold Glove winner. And of course, played a huge part when the Braves won the World Series last October. He hit a pair of home runs and had a wonderful postseason. He had his OPS in the Division Series and the LCS were both over 1,000. And his OPS in the World Series was 996, as close as you can get. Hit a home run in the playoffs, a huge home run in the playoffs against Milwaukee, a pair of big home runs against Los Angeles, and of course, two big home runs against Houston to win the World Series. And he caught the final out, which was a ground out, in which the Braves won. Now, I'm going to go back a little bit and say that if you're a Cardinal fan, you had all those wonderful memories and all those wonderful years with Albert Pujols. The final season of his Cardinals tenure was when they won the World Series in 2011. He wound up in the second to last game as a Cardinal. He got a huge hit in that game-tying rally in the amazing Game 6 of that year's World Series. He wound up hitting 3 home runs in a previous game against the Texas Rangers. His final moments as a member of the St. Louis Cardinals, the team whose cap he will be wearing when he gets his inevitable plaque in the Hall of Fame, was winning the World Series. And of course, he then cashed in with the Angels. And while Cardinal fans were saddened, the team continued to play well. In fact, got to the World Series just 2 years later with a slightly different crew. But the fact of the matter is, they were able to find a way to replace him. Now, Freddie Freeman has been a wonderful member of the Braves, but the lasting image of him for Atlanta Braves fan was catching the final out in the World Series. In the free agency world, you really can't ask for more than 10 years with one team. And Freddie Freeman played for 12 and a half seasons. He's played, over a decade in Atlanta with a World Series title. My favorite player of all time is Pedro Martinez. His final game as a member of the Boston Red Sox was helping them win the World Series. So maybe as a fan, it's better for you that your lasting memory is them as a champion. And if they cash in and break down, it'll be on someone else's dime. If you're a Braves fan and Freddie Freeman signs with Tampa, he signs with San Francisco, signs with the Yankees, whatever team may potentially sign Freddie Freeman, your lasting memories is him as a world champion. You don't have to go through the agony of watching a player you love break down. You just remember the good parts. So, yeah, it would be very, very strange to see Freddie Freeman play baseball in any other team. But the fact of the matter is, Braves fans, you got 12 seasons out of this guy, and you can't ask for more than what he's given. So, Braves fans, you can get another first baseman. You can't. They won't be Freddie Freeman, just like the Cardinals didn't get Albert Pujols. But think about how cool it is. You say, well, he left the champion. It'll probably be cooler to see him come back because I think he's still an elite hitter. But Braves fans, if he does go elsewhere, tip your cap to him and wish him well. And that's basically being fandom is all about for someone like Freddie Freeman. You got 12 years out of him. Can't ask for more than that. And you can't ask for more than having a great listener like Jeff Cohen always sending me great questions to ask. Send me questions. I'm going to put up my lower third here again for those of you on YouTube. Send it to me at my private email or my private Twitter at Sully Baseball. You can follow us at Locked On MLB Pods, same handle for Instagram. And you can also follow us here on YouTube. So, hey, hopefully soon we're going to have an agreement. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? But until then, thanks for sending us questions, Jeff Cohen. And thanks so much for watching Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.